That perspective, is something that we can change. And gaining perspective is really key, dealing with situations like the pandemic right now, because that's gonna make the difference between resisting or accepting changes that are happening in this moment. So in order for us to gain perspective, it's very important for us to understand diversity, because people are gonna see the world in their own upbringing way. So it makes your life so much easier to gain perspective when you can understand how people are brought in different ways and be accepting of that, because that makes things way easier. It's very important to not only surround yourself with only the things that you agree with. You gotta have to consume some of the things that at first you don't agree with. Hello everyone, this is Inspired Tuesday. This is my weekly vlog for all of you that have been following me. I started the vlog to add value, motivate, and inspire my team at Icon Dental Center. It was so positive that I decided to share it with you in hope to add value to you too and motivate you. So since the pandemic, the coronavirus, I decided to change the format of the vlog and focus on topics related to the pandemic, because this is what the audience has been asking, and everyone that connects with me in here, to discuss more topics related to what's going on all over the world right now with the pandemic. So today I decided to talk about gain perspective. This is a topic. And why is it so important? Because perspective is based on your beliefs and experience throughout your life. And only you see what's going on the way you see it, because it depends on your own life experience. The good news is that perspective, is something that we can change. And gaining perspective is really key, dealing with situations like the pandemic right now, because that's gonna make the difference between resisting or accepting changes that are happening in this moment. So today I'll bring 2 tips, then a quote, and then 1 more tip. I really hope this is helpful for you. Enjoy. Tip number 1 is start with gratitude. I don't see how you can have perspective without gratitude. It really goes hand in hand together. And right now, since the topic is what's going on with the pandemic, I'll give some of the tips, related to what's going on now, on how gratitude is so important in order for us to move on and gain perspective on so many tough things that are happening. I'll give an example, starting with what happened in the beginning, that when all the businesses shut down and everybody stayed home, it was very hard to be so uncertain. So I'm so grateful that I am back to work, serving and doing what I love, which is serve my patients and being back in the community, right? Active again, instead of being just home. So does it come easy? Not really, because there is so many new protocols that we had to implement in order to stay safe, because this is our priority, including having to wear the N95 mask all day long, and on top of it another mask, and then the face shield and the loops. It's so different. Like dentists have always worn masks. I know that now a lot of people complain saying it's so hard to wear masks, this is so tough to do things. Add to this an N95 throughout the day. But do you think our team or us, we complain? Not at all, because compared to staying home and not having a job and not knowing what to do and not being able to serve our patients, that it's way worse. So we are wearing the N95. Yes, at the end of the day, a lot of us have headaches. We have to take ibuprofen to deal with the headache that the mask is causing and all this extra PPE. But it's still, because perspective, we're so grateful to be able to go back. So it gives us perspective to, instead of seeing this as a negative thing, I'm thankful for the N95. I'm not upset at that at all, even though it does give me headaches. It's just because I compare it to the other scenario, which is staying home and not being able to serve my patients. That's what happened before. So perspective starts with gratitude. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is be open-minded. Okay, I really believe you gotta have somehow an open mind in order to gain perspective too. Because it's very easy to be open-minded with things that you agree with. But very rare people tend to be open-minded with things they disagree with. So in order for you to be able to gain perspective, it's very important to not only surround yourself with only the things that you agree with, you gotta have to consume some of the things that at first you don't agree with, so you start to see the other side of it. Otherwise, you're always gonna be like that one-way thinking person, right? You're not gonna end up learning new things. So I'm gonna give an example with like what's happening right now, right? Since it's always related to the pandemic. So I've never been so involved with the news because, negative, and most of the time it was not adding anything, right? But now with the pandemic, I feel like it's very important for me to stay updated with what's going on because there's so many changes, including things in the health, like it's a public health crisis and it's a disease and a virus that is so new and there's so many things being discovered every day. It's not because they're being a bad doctors or bad scientists, it's just because it's new. So it takes time to get all the facts and the data together. So I try to really follow what's going on. But at the same time, I find it very important to watch different news that bring different perspective on things, different channels of news. Some of them are so one-sided, but if you watch all of them, at the end, you're gonna be able to have a better understanding and more open-minded approach to the situation. And that's to anything. Like if I'm reading books on dentistry or doctors' information, I like to see different opinions. Same thing with entrepreneurship. I like to see how different, like you may say, oh my God, this entrepreneur, very off. Maybe he's very off in this topic. There's something in here that he makes sense. So make sure you are open-minded. Don't go in only one channel because that makes it harder for you to gain perspective. That's tip number 2. A quote from Wayne Dyer: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Tip number 3 is understand diversity. In my introduction, I was saying that, perspective is based on your upbringing and your own experience. This is how you see the world, and each person see it their own way. So in order for us to gain perspective, it's very important for us to understand diversity because people are gonna see the world in their own upbringing way. So it makes your life so much easier to gain perspective when you can understand how people are brought in different ways and be accepting of that, because that makes things way easier. For me, maybe it comes in easy because I was born and raised in a country. My parents were immigrant in the country. Like I was born and raised in Brazil. They were immigrant in Brazil and they lived there for 50 years. Then now I live in the United States. So my upbringing has been diverse. So I can see a little bit of this. And sometimes it's hard for some people that can't relate to different perspective of different cultures of diversity. And it makes it more complicated. It doesn't mean that it cannot be changed, right? This is the one thing that I was just talking about in introduction to that perspective can be changed. The key here is to learn. Learn diversity. It helps so much more, especially when you do leadership work and even with your kids, right? Even when they're upbringing in the same family, they already have different perspective of things. If you're already open-minded to understand diversity and how people think and react different to things, that's just gonna make like your life way easier. And way easier on how you can communicate to people and how you can relate your life and how you can socialize with people so much better and so much easier. So I really recommend, like, if diversity is not something that you've been raised with, at least to try to understand and be open-minded to different cultures and different upbringings is so key. And this is what unifies everyone, and this is the way to even get to the next level on this such a hard time right now. If people are able to unify, then that becomes so much easier to move on and come out on the other side way stronger. So those are the tips today. I really hope they were helpful, and yeah, keep sending your DMs and your messages. Connect with me. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your audience and all the positivity that you bring into here. And again, I hope this was helpful. And until next time, my friends, be safe, stay healthy, and stay optimistic. I'll see you guys next week.